Hey everyone, welcome to MT Guitar. I'm traveling this week for Thanksgiving, so still wanted to bring you some content to practice over the holidays here. Hope you're doing well out there. I wanted to talk about how to play cage system actually in a fixed position or in just one area of the neck. And when I've talked about caged in my other videos, I've talked about how to move a single key up and down the neck. Really valuable information, and you'll probably find that is the case for most tutorials on caged. You can play 5 shapes of any chord or any scale or anything really, and that will take you up and down the neck. But a lot of songs don't move up and down the neck necessarily, right? A lot of solos don't move up and down the neck, and yet there might be chords and progressions that are all happening in just a few frets. So that's a certain skill that I don't hear talked about all the time. So I want to go through that, give a few examples, a few different keys, and talk about how you might stay in one area of the neck using caged, right? So let's dive in. Let's take the key of C, all right? If you want a sort of a basic introduction to caged, I'll leave some links in the description below. You can check those out, and that'll get you going. So this might be a little more intermediate, but stick around because I think even a beginner will get a lot from this. So if I am in the key of C, we know that there are 5 shapes of caged, right? Starting with C, then A shape, then the dreaded G shape, right? It's hard to play all the strings there. E shape and D shape, okay? And if you were in a different key, you would play a C shape barred. So like, let's say you're in the key of G. We start with a G shape. In the word caged, after G is E. There's an E shape. Then D shape. Now we have a chance to play a C shape barred up. Okay. And then an A shape, and etc. and a G shape. Okay. Which I can't play because I don't have a cutaway right now. I'm going to post a little study guide on this on the Patreon. I usually do music theory at the $5 level, but I'm going to do this one at the $2 level. That's kind of a Black Friday deal. So check that out, and remember to subscribe and hit the bell icon and the thumbs up. I appreciate it. So those would be the 5 shapes of one single chord or key. Let's take a common progression. Let's take a song like Landslide. Okay. This is a great fingerstyle song to learn. But we have 3 chords in the verse, right? We have C, G, or G over B to A minor 7. I actually just talked about this in my 7th chord video about the A minor 7 there. But let's take this into a different direction. If I take the key of C, which is what we're in, and I move it up the neck, and I want to start using caged, we know that I can use, as I just mentioned, the A shape of C or the G shape, the E shape, whatever. But let's say I wanted to say, you know what, I'm going to stick into the 5th position or the 5th fret. That's kind of a classical term. When you say 5th position, I'm not talking about scales or anything. I'm talking about our index finger is on the 5th fret, okay? So I'd have a C triad here. And you can find that in caged in both the A shape and the G shape. And I'm taking the 4th, 3rd, 2nd strings of the 5th fret, okay? And the 2nd chord of Landslide is G. All right. So first off, we want to know what is G in the key of C. It's the 5 chord. Even though this is a G over B, it's an inversion, it's still a 5 chord. So in this triad here, here's the root, here's the 1, it's 3rd string, 5th fret. You can know that because it's 2 frets and 2 strings up from this bass root, right there. Okay, so now we've got a root here. So if we find the 5 chord, we can find it by playing up the scale and finding the 5th note of the key or the scale. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a G root. All right, now if I go down an octave, I can get something a little more bassy by going down 2 strings and 3 frets. Okay. And now all of a sudden I can see a D shape emerge. Okay. So so that would be a way of accessing the 5 chord in the same area that I started. But let's say I don't like that because that's actually a power chord. And there's no third in there. I can say, well, what else can I do? I can go the opposite direction. I can go towards the neck and access the E shape, which is before D, caged, right? So that would be the fourth, third, and second strings of an E shape. So I could go. All right. So far we've got two places we can play that 5 chord, but we're really just sort of sticking around this area. So the next chord of Landslide would be A minor 7, and that is the 6th chord. All right, so the 6th chord is A minor, and we can find that root in this area of the neck by either counting up to 6 or down from 8, which is also 1 to 6. So let's count up first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Or we can count down from 8. 8, 7, 6. Either way, it takes us to an A. And when we play both octaves, we start to see, this is an E shape or an E minor shape. We know that the 6th chord is minor, right? Unless it's not. But in this case it is. So we'd have a nice little triad right here. Okay, so we've got so far 1 chord, 5 chord, 6 chord, back to the 5 chord. Let's try the other G shape. Meaning let's try the E shape of G. So 1 chord, 5 chord, 6 chord. Now it may not sound like the song right now completely because we know the song as having these sort of low bass roots. But if you're playing along with the song and you want to know how can I use CAGED to play Landslide or any song, I can do that and play along with the song, or I can play along with my friend or my band. And while somebody's doing this, you could, you go like this. Okay. All right, now let's take a different chord progression. Let's take the Beatles' first single, Love Me Do. Just because it's a nice, easy progression, right? G to C. So now we're in the key of G, and this is a 1-4 progression. Here's the 1 chord, here's the 4 chord root. That's C, and that's the 4th note of the G major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so let's say we want to be in this 3rd position, meaning index finger on the 3rd fret. I can now say I have an E shape of G, but I want to not sort of encumber myself with a whole bar chord. So I'm going to play. Let's say I want to play the first 3 strings, okay? And we're going to move it up the neck in a sec, but here's the first 3 strings of a G major bar chord, and this is the E shape of CAGED. So I've got the root here, and I know that's the root because it's the E string and the bass E string, which is all you really need to memorize. You just need to memorize the bass strings. Then you can move them up and down. So we have 2 frets up, there's another root, 2 strings and 2 frets, or the high E is also a G, so there's another root. So I can start my scale here and find the 4 chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4. Either way, get you to C. Or you could even go down from this 8 here. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, right? Either way. And you would now have a C root right here without moving up and down the neck. So what good does that do us? Well, we can find out where's the nearest octave from here. And we know that 2 strings, 2 frets away is a bass C. All of a sudden the A shape emerges, right? There's the A shape. Okay, big deal. We want to get away from bar chords, so that's not necessarily great yet. We would want to say, what are the first 3 strings of the A shape? And if you play an A shape like this, which I don't, but you could, to visualize all the chord tones, you would see that we have the first string, 3rd fret in an A shape of C. Okay, so now 5, 5, 3 on the first 3 strings would be a C triad or a C chord. All you need for a chord is 3 songs. All you need is 3 notes. So you'd have a 1 chord right here. Love, love me do. 4 chord. See? We're playing a 1-4 progression without moving up and down the neck. All right. That can happen anywhere in the neck, any string set, or any combination of strings, whatever, right? So same thing, if I wanted to do second, third, fourth strings of an E shape, of a G chord, it'd be right there, 5, 4, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's an A shape, so it would be 5, 5, 5. Love, love me do. Right? Let's say I wanted to move it up. Let's say I wanted to be using a D shape, right? Here's a D shape of G, but who wants to play that chord, right? That's annoying. So we're going to get rid of this fourth string root and just play just those notes. For the 4 chord, we would do the same process of finding the fourth note of G by playing a major scale and finding the fourth note. And we know this is the root because it's 2 strings away and 3 frets up. The reason it's 3 frets up instead of 2 now is because we're crossing the second or first string. So that's a root. So here's our G, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we have a C note, which is our root of our 4 chord. Well, how do we know what shape to play? Well, we know that anything on the high E string will be on the low E string. And once we get here, we can go up 2 strings and 2 frets to this root. So now we've got the E shape emerging because of these 3 roots. So if I play just the first 3 strings of that chord shape, I would have this 4 chord right here, this C chord. So I would say 1 chord, then to 4, then 1 chord to 4, see? And you don't have to play it all at once like a chord. You could just play an arpeggio, or you could just select a couple notes. So let me play a little rhythm and act like I'm going to take a little, not even a solo, but just a little bit of a lead line here. There's the progression. Love me do. Oh, I love you. Right? Totally a realistic lead guitar part there. Just playing some nice, maybe arpeggios or maybe light chords up and down, up the neck, right? All right. When it goes to the bridge, it goes to a 5 chord. So why don't we end there? We'll do one more thing here. And let's say when it goes to someone to hold, right? That's a 5 chord. That's a D chord. So we're just going to go from here. Here's our 1, and we're going to walk up to a 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Or we could walk down from an 8. 8, 7, 6, 5. Those are both D notes. And when we play these octaves, a G shape sort of emerges there. It's kind of hard to see the G shape up the strings there, but that's a G shape. All right. Anytime we have a high E, we have a low E. So there's sort of how that G shape emerges. You also have the E shape, right? So, love me do. So please, there's the 4. Back to 1. Now we're going to go to the bridge. Someone to hold. Somebody new. Okay, but what if I don't like this because it's not really a triad, it's just 1, 3, 1. I can go to the other direction from this root and find an A shape. 1, 2, hold, back to the E shape of C, D shape of G. Okay, I know this is probably a lot, so this is something to work towards. Maybe not the most beginner version of CAGED, but it's how to take CAGED and sort of move it into just one position using a handful of frets, maybe 3 or 4 frets as your limits. So homework would be pick a different song, a different key, a different chord progression. Doesn't have to be much, could just be a 1-4. And then pick a different area of the neck and say, okay, can I find the 1 chord? Hopefully you can do that. If you can do that, then you can find the 4 and 5 chords or whatever else chords you're looking for and find the octaves of those chords so that you can see the shape. So it's a lot, but take it slowly, take it piece by piece. Let me know if it's clear, if there's any questions, and enjoy. See you next lesson.